Hey everybody, I'm Will from Cotic Bikes. Today we're going to go through a bearing change in a Droplink frame. This is a 27.5 inch rocket frame. They're all pretty much exactly the same, very little differences, but this should go through the whole range of our full suspension mountain bikes. This job's so much easier when your bike's fully stripped, you've got everything off, your chain guide, your bottom bracket, all your cables, so you can get to everything and make sure it's clean as well before you start. Clean it as much as possible because you don't want any dirt getting into where you're trying to get something out, and just not good for it. So first things first, we're going to take the shock out, making sure not to drop the back end and scratch your seat stays. Just 2 4mm. Should do the job. Little ratchet comes in handy. So you get all your bits out somewhere nice and clean and tidy for when you put them back in. Those bits go together. When you take the shock out, just be careful not to lose any of these shock fittings here. Just make sure they're all together and with the shock. At this point you can feel if your bearings need, and hear if your bearings need replacing. You just move it like that. It's got a bit of a sticky bit just there, so these need doing. So I'm going to undo the 4mm now. So there's a 4mm pinch bolt just here and the 2 4mm in the drop links. Just loosen those off to start with. If you pick the back end up, you can get a nice 4mm in there, normal 4mm. Same with these drop links, pick it up. So in this position we can take the seat stays out to be able to replace the 608 bearings that are inside here, and then we'll leave the chainstay attached onto the bottom for now. If you've taken one side out, on the other side, it doesn't matter which you want to do first, just crack it off and just leave it still attached in so it doesn't then just drop away and then likely to scratch down on here or anything else. Not that worried about scratching this one because it's absolutely knackered. It's Richard's bike. So now we're going to take the Droplink nut off. So 8mm, 6mm. And I'll just lift the back end up using my body actually, just to keep the seat stays away from the drop links, because you can see from like that, and I'm putting force through slightly just to move up and down and scratch. So just lift it up from my body and then just undo nicely. So once you've got the main nut out, you can use your 8mm. Push through the main pivot because it's nice and greased from fresh. Take the axle out. And if you leave your 8mm in there, nothing's going to drop out. You've got little spaces in between the drop links and the bearing. They're not going to fall out, so you're not going to lose them. So now I'm going to take the right hand side off now, just because the Allen key is poking out this side, so I can take it off without taking the full Allen key all the way out of that main pivot. So 5mm, already loose. Make sure you're holding everything so it doesn't all fall apart. Push the Allen key through a little bit. It should. Just making sure you know where these spaces are when you do take that drop link off. You don't want to lose those. 1mm space. So the same with the other side. Take out the brake pivot nut. Hold it all so it doesn't all fall apart. Take your Allen key out and it'll all come off together. Keep in mind where that 1mm spacer is, and then slowly just let that drop down and sit and rest on the main frame. This 17mm nut here, we have a special tool which is it's a spanner. You don't need a special tool, but we just have it because it's a little bit better for us. It's just slightly ground off on that edge so it sits lovely and flush against that nut there. So you've got your 8mm Allen key on one side, 17 on this side, and It might give it a bit of a crack because it is Loctited on, but the axle is lubricated with some grease, so it should move nicely. So you just got to be careful, there's 2 more spaces in here, so if you stick your hand below it so it's not going to fall anywhere, push the axle out, put that down somewhere safe, and when you pull it off, just be careful not to drop either of those 2 spaces. One is bigger than the other. Now all you need to do is clean everything, get all the dirt and grime off there. You want them spotless when you put them back together. That is the rear end off the front end. Just need to knock these bearings out now and then clean and then replace it with some nice new ones. So for this job you can use a bearing puller slide hammer, which we've got over there, which is what we use, but you could also just use a nice big screwdriver, just put it inside, and there's a little tube just inside there. You can actually push that to one side and then get in and then just rest it against the inner race of the other side bearing, give it a tap and it will come straight out. So with one bearing out, you can then put your finger in there, get that tube out. So these are just old bearings, so we're just going to hammer them out. Been in there a while, by the looks of things. As you can see, there's dirt, there's grime, there's grease, there's all sorts in there. You just need to clean that out, make sure it's nice and sparkling before you put some fresh grease and some fresh bearings in. Every little bit out. To clean this bit out, you can just shove glue roll, rag, anything you want. It's a solid tube, so it just goes straight through. Just a little bit of grease inside the bearing cup. Just a little bit, not too much, just enough. Your bearings in, these are 6902s that go in here, and that goes through all of the Droplink bikes. So this is the only tool you might not have in your garage or shed. This is actually a custom bearing press, but a normal bearing press is very much what you need and what you should use to be able to put these bearings in. So you could make one out of a threaded bar and some nuts. This is exactly what this is, with some welded on legs and arms. If you haven't got one, you could go to the bike shop and they've probably got one there that you might be able to borrow, but I imagine they'll just do it for you. Double check your bearing. 6902. Get the best bearings you could get. There you go. Got my bearing sat on the drift, so I know it's going to go in square and straight. I've got another drift on this side actually, so it goes even straighter. Take the tension and it'll just press in nice and easy. No wonder they feel notchy. Oh, I've got my glove stuck. So next job is put the other side in. We've cleaned the tube off, so it's nice and clean when it goes inside. Put your bearing on first, and then just rest that on the inside of there. push them in so they're nicely seated all the way into the cups. Should be nice and flush fit. Next job, drop links and the 608 bearing that sits inside there. So removing your drop link to get to the 608 bearing inside, 4mm on a socket is really nice and useful for this job, and a T25 Torx in this side. And they do have Loctite on, so they can be quite tight to get going. And it should come out fairly easy because they have grease on when they go in. Now I like to hit this with a 5mm Allen key. Doesn't destroy your Allen key and it doesn't destroy the threads in there if you're gentle. You can hold it in your hand. Not the easiest bit. Just give it a tap. Comes off. Ooh. Should slide out. So now removing the 608 bearing, I have a little socket which is actually a 3/16 socket, fits perfectly inside and does go through that hole in there. And to get it moving, because they can be quite tight these, I personally stick it in a vise. And you can get it moving until it's near the end. And then I have something, anything round. So you just want to sit it on the ridge on the outside, but not to disrupt the bearing coming out. And give it a few taps, and out she comes. Now you've got your bearing out. They need a good clean on the inside. You can see there's dirt and grime in there. Get all of that out, because you don't want to put a fresh bearing in with all that muck inside. Now you've got them nice and clean, you need to give them a little grease on the inside of there where the bearing sits. Again, not too much, just enough. Pressing in the drop link, find a socket that contacts on the outside of your bearing to press it in. We've just got this that fits perfectly. It's a bushing removal tool. Fits nice and snug. Line up in the vise. Should go in nice and easy until it bottoms out. And you will notice on these drop links it looks like it's not sat in there all the way, but it actually is. As you can see on this one, there's a slight lip in the bottom just to keep it away from the edge. So now we're going to remove the bearings on the chainstay. The pinch bolt is already undone from earlier, so this bearing should push out with your thumb. There you go. Still dirty, we'll clean that up in a minute. This one's slightly trickier to get out. We have a few tools. This is an RRP tool, really nice and cheap. Slides in there. Bearing will end up sitting inside that bit, so it contacts around the outside of the chainstay. This way you speed it up to like 100 times the actual. Yeah, okay, yeah, let's do that. Bearing sat in there. Make sure you clean all of these out, get them nice and smooth. You don't want any grime in there. These are the same bearings that go into the mainframe 6902s. Grease where the bearing is going to sit. Pinch bolt side, get your bearing. You can open it up slightly using your finger at the back, makes it slightly easier. Just press it in. Don't press it in all the way, just so it's just beyond flush, and then do up that 4mm. Don't do it super tight just yet. Get your bearing on the other side. Right, yep, let's get your bearing press in. There we go. Right, and at that point, do your pinch bolts up, nice and tight, and it should slide in nice and smooth. Make sure it's seated all the way. Undo the pinch bolt. Any little drift will come out. Okay. So putting it back together, the first thing you want to do is put the drop links on. This is your axle, give it a nice grease. Like all of our bikes, they come greased up. Right hand side first, because that's just the way they go together. 1mm spacer. Use your finger in the other side just to line up that tube that's sat in between the bearings. Push straight in. Spacer again. Then your other drop link. You just want to lock tight on this screw. In the end, by hand to start, and you get your 6 and your 8mm. And you don't want to go crazy with this, you just want to nip it up like a headset, just so it's touching. Just leave it slightly loose to start with. We'll tighten that up later. Before you put your chain stays on, just get a little bit of grease just inside there. Just when you push the axle through. You'll have some on the inside as well. So these washers, they have a little step on each side so it contacts the bearing and then the frame. A slightly bigger one, it's 2 different sizes, on the left hand side where the pinch bolt is. Other one on the other side. Hold them with your thumbs like this, slide it in, and then have your axle ready. Slide straight in and you just rest it down onto the edge of the frame. 17mm and 8mm. And it'll pull itself into alignment. Don't go crazy, just enough, tight. This point, 4mm, tying up your pinch bolt. Again, just a couple of white knuckles. Yep, so we've got the drop link pins here. Give them a little grease up. And you want a little drop of Loctite in the end, just so it goes into the right place. So make sure you get the correct seat stay for the right side. This is the drive side, so it's got the gear cable hole in it. Slide it in there. Sometimes you have to give those a wiggle to get in. Put your bolts in the end. Doesn't have to be all the way in. Just get it to sit in there and then just rest it like that. Get your droplink cap and your little, it's actually a rotor bolt, 4mm. And it should line up. And again, just rest that there. Do this all the way now. Fairly tight. Didn't it? Same on the other side. Your seat stay in with axle. Line up the front. So when you're doing your main pivot up, do it up, these drop links are still loose, and then undo it, quarter of a turn. For when we put the shock in, we need to make sure these are lined up nicely. Make sure you put Loctite inside the axle, not inside the bolt, because when you do it up and it's on the bolt, once you do it up, it'll squirt out and then actually go onto the outside of your axle, and then everything gets super tight and stuck on. So if you put it on the inside, it will just stay onto the threads. That way. Making sure everything's lined up, put your shock mount, your shock pin in the front, stick your shock in, put the rear pin in, and then you can just rest it there for a second. So this one was straight, but I've just pushed it over to one side just to show you. If you're putting your fresh drop links on, they don't always go on perfectly straight when you're just putting it together. So as you can see, it's slightly off. You just give it a pull and a tweak, because these aren't done up, and they will then line up perfectly, and then you can tighten up your drop links. Okay. Again, a little bit of Loctite, just a little bit, not too much. Get your two shock fittings, one on each side. Lift the rear end up. Getting these bloody gloves caught. And that's it done. Missed. So I hope that's made everything a bit clearer for you. All the exploded diagrams are in your droplink manual, or we'll have a link through to the website and you can see them all on there and get all the specifications for the bearings and all the parts that you would need to do your frame.